Good evening, folks, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well this evening. I hope you had a wonderful week and you're ready for more crazy stuff this weekend. So what we're going to talk about tonight, well, I'll talk a little bit about the cost of living crisis and how, well, certain people are not experiencing that. Some Scots who were mistaken for migrants in Wales, Kemi Badenoch, Liz Truss, and a few other stories as well. So I hope you're all very well, and thanks for coming on tonight. Hope you are having a good one. So we'll start off with this first story from Sky News. Have a listen to this.
Now, campaigners have criticised a change to rules in the House of Lords around the declarations of interest. Peers will no longer have to register non-financial interests, which could influence their actions, despite claims it'll lead to a significant loss of transparency. Political correspondent Amanda Acas has this report.
Peers of the realm have great power, but their responsibilities to transparency have recently reduced.
So what would be the justification for this? In what way would people say, okay, what we need is less transparency when it comes to the interests of peers, people in the House of Lords? Anyway, let's continue.
No longer have to register their non-financial interests, including unpaid but important jobs like being director or chair of a company, charity or think tank.
See, the thing is here, this isn't just about money, it's about influence. So somebody, for example, Lord Frost, works very closely with organisations that are promoting climate skepticism or, denial of climate change. Now, he's not getting paid, but maybe he's getting something else in return. So he's not receiving money, but perhaps he's getting something we don't know about. But he will no longer have to declare that, it seems, because he's not getting paid. This is insane. Why would anyone decide, Keir Starmer was supposed to reform, well, he was supposed to abolish the House of Lords, now, or at least reform it. Well, when they talked about reforming the House of Lords, I didn't think they would mean, we actually want them to be able to be more corrupt, considerably more important than anyone else. Sorry, needed to emphasize on the importance. It's criminal, yes. Is this what Starmer meant when he said that he'd reform the House of Lords? I hope this is not the case. Who decided on this?
Campaigners are alarmed.
We've got a significant loss of transparency and accountability, and that is bad news for the public. More than 25 years ago, the Committee on Standards in Public Life identified that there was a need for peers to register non-financial interests because that could influence their decisions. This process seems to be all about making matters simpler for peers.
The change...
peers have a difficult time. They have to clock in the morning, collect their £300, was it 360? I don't remember. Each day they're able to claim expenses up to 300 and something pounds. Somebody in the chat can probably confirm it. Great to have the guys over from Graham Politics. So members of the House of Lords can claim over £300 a day, and they're supposed to declare their interests, financial and non-financial. Now, it's important to remember that when it comes to the non-financial interests, they could be receiving something other than money. They could be having a position on a company where they're able to influence policy. They could be a director in a company or a non-executive director, or they could be, the company could be their son or daughters or a relation of theirs, or they're working in some other way. For example, as I said with Lord Frost, he's associated himself with right-wing think tanks. He's not receiving money from them, but obviously he's doing it for some other reason. And now he will not have to declare these interests. This is insane. Once again, the whole point Keir Starmer was pushing was, well, we need to reform the House of Lords or even abolish it. But this is going backwards.
Change was recommended by the House of Lords Conduct Committee, which argued that keeping non-financial interests updated was disproportionately burdensome and that
it's burdensome. It's a real pain in the backside when you have to declare whether you work for a right-wing think tank that denies climate change. It's cumbersome having to fill out the forms and declare these things. So it's just easier just to get rid of it. so that we don't know. So nobody knows if Lord Frost is working on the side for some right-wing think tank. He'll just stand up in the House of Lords and say, well, I think net zero is a problem. And then somebody asks, why do you think it's a problem? Well, I just believe it's a problem. There's no reason why I'm pushing this narrative. There's no reason why I support cuts to renewable energy funding, stuff like that. No, there's no reason whatsoever. I don't even have to tell you why.
Minor and inadvertent mistakes were leading to a large number of complaints. As a result, the Register of Interest has shrunk from 432 pages to 275. It means peers sitting at this end of Parliament have very different rules from MPs next door. A source told me there's real concern among some Lords staff about the change. Non-financial interest declarations have previously highlighted situations where a peer's involvement in a think tank or lobbying group overlapped with a paid role. And there are cases where they prompted an investigation revealing undeclared financial interests. In 2023, Lord Skidelsky, for example, was investigated after registering his role as chair of a charity's trustees as a non-financial interest. The Commissioner for Standards concluded that the charity, which was funded by 2 Russian businessmen, had paid his staff salaries for over 12 years.
So 2 Russian businessmen have a charity. They fund a charity. And then they put this member of the House of Lords on that charity. He's not paid, it seems. And what votes did he back? What votes did he work against? When it came to, for example, industries like that would be affected by this, or decisions by the government that will be affected by this. Once again, this is a form of corruption.
In 2021, Lord Botham registered a non-financial interest as an unpaid company director, but the company's accounts then revealed he and his wife had benefited from a director's loan of nearly £200,000.
Lord Botham, of course, the Brexiteer. So he registered as an unpaid company in an unpaid company role, and then he received a loan from the company. So all you have to do is you say, look, I'm not receiving a salary from the company, but I received a loan, or the company paid a loan that I took out. Lord Ian Bottom. Yes. The Brexiteer. Remember the Brexiteer? This is just corruption. This is the sort of thing, that people would say, well, this is from a tin pot dictatorship. This is the sort of thing you see in Russia. This is the sort of thing you see in Trump's America. Britain is supposed to be better than that. And the real concern here is that Keir Starmer had said that he was going to reform the House of Lords. He was going to abolish the House of Lords. And now you were hearing, well, a step taken backwards. Now, but don't worry. There is a silver lining here. So once again, the members of the House of Lords are able to claim £300 a day, over £300 a day. I don't know if somebody corrected me in the chat. Let me just have a quick look. Frosty the No Man. I love that. Frosty the No Man. £400 a day. It's £400 a day. Not it was. I'm out of date. So £400 a day. Wonderful. So don't worry. Members of the House of Lords who don't have to declare their interests now, all of their interests, are able to claim £400 a day. This is from the Trussell Trust. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. The Trussell Trust, of course, an anti-charity, an anti-poverty charity who provides food banks to people who are struggling to get by. The Trussell Trust posted this on social media. A single person needs at least £520 per month to cover the essentials like food, bills and toiletries, but the basic rate of universal credit is only £400 a month. It doesn't add up. As someone said below here, £520, that isn't even close enough to cover the rent on its own. Then it says rent hasn't been included as universal credit as it's a separate amount. £520 is just to cover the essentials. So excluding rent. But So the basic rate of £400 a month from the universal credit, but a single person needs about £520 a month to live. But don't worry, the members of the House of Lords are able to claim £400. So members of the House of Lords will be okay. You know, you keep hearing about on the right, there's going to be a revolution. Yes, they want a revolution against immigrants, but they don't want a revolution against the rich. This is the worst thing about not the worst thing, one of the worst things about the far right and the right in general, Tommy Robinson Brigade and Farage lot, is that they don't care about the rich. The country is struggling. Ordinary people are struggling. And what is the flavor of the month? Immigration. What is the media only talking about? Immigration. When was the last time you heard a story about the cost of living crisis? It's as if it disappeared. It no longer applies. It has been resolved. No, it hasn't. It's worse than before. But the public are being convinced the primary concern of theirs is, of course, immigration, small boats. Ivan, thank you so much for that super chat. Great to see you on the stream again tonight. Yet again, it's one rule for them and one rule for everyone else. I know this specifically about the House of Lords, but can the Labour government do anything? You expect this sort of thing from the Tories, not from Labour. Exactly. And Keir Starmer said that he was going to reform the House of Lords. Why not abolish it at this stage? You know, Lord Boltham, he's able to claim £400 a day. He doesn't need £400 a day, but he can claim it. And there are people who are struggling to get by who can't claim this. A huge problem is that Labour need to start getting their arse in gear. I don't know if this is the term that I should use or if people are familiar with this term, but they need to do something straight away. They need to improve the situation for ordinary people. Like, how are people supposed to survive on £400 a month when the cost of living is about $520 for a single person? And at the same time, you know, Farage is pointing, look at the boats, look at the immigrants. Don't think about the cost of living crisis. Your life is getting worse, but it's not the fault of the mega rich. It's not the fault of, the so-called wealth creators. It's not the massive landowners. No, they're not the problem. It's the immigrants who are coming over in small boats. And what they're doing is they're trying to drive a wedge between people who are struggling and those who are being put into these ex-hotels. You keep hearing it from GB News or Talk TV, but it's also filtering into the other mainstream media. How, you know, the Nick Ferraris of this world, who they keep pushing this idea that, oh, look, they're getting free food, they're getting free dental care, they're getting free this, free that, and ordinary people are struggling to get by. And this, you know, if you're hearing this constantly and you're struggling, of course you're going to be angry. Of course you're going to say, why the hell are these people getting everything and I'm getting nothing? Why am I having to struggle while these people are receiving everything for nothing? And then what are people going to do? They're going to turn around and be angry with the current government, the incumbent government, and they're going to punish them. They're going to give them a bloody nose. And they're going to vote for the likes of Nigel Farage. Not because they agree with Farage, not even because they care about immigration. It's because they're angry with the government. We saw it with Brexit. So many people, after Brexit Day, after the vote, went on Google and said, what is the EU? What does it mean? People obviously voted against their interest without knowing that it was going to be like that because they were angry with the government. Thanks so much, Ivan. Brad, thank you so much for that super chat as well. Now Gove is in the Lords. They don't have his ties to South Africa banana companies coming up with their records. Or cocoa. Doesn't it come from the same plant? No. Oh, well said, Brad. Yes, he doesn't have to hide anything now. It's like, whew, it's getting a bit hairy, wasn't it? It's getting a bit nervous. The Lords are paid £361 a day and expenses. I thought that was including expenses, or it was a cap. David McGuinness, thanks so much, David. And make sure to check out Indie Truck Davies, the Two Davies YouTube channel. I think they do a live stream every day covering stuff around the world, but also in Scotland. So do check out Davies' channel if you haven't. I was checking it out the other day. I didn't comment, but I checked it out, and he's doing really well. Thanks, David. We're told all the time that there are too many people on universal credit, which the Lords claim over £400 a day. Who's the risk grounders exactly? Gaslight burning bright. Well said, Suzanne. Christy, thank you so much for that super chat. The Lords are getting if everything for free, claim expenses. Yeah, getting everything for free, and they can claim expenses as well. I don't know what expenses members of the House of Lords have. Is it dry cleaning bills for their robes or something? I don't know. Do you think the rich people like or dislike mass immigration? They don't care. Rich people only care about paying taxes. Generally, rich people don't care about immigration because in many cases they're not living in deprived areas where a lot of immigrants are living. And immigrants, and I'm not talking about asylum seekers. I'm just talking about immigrants in general. Immigrants generally are paid lower than the normal rate. Some of them work in the black economy. They're doing jobs that other people don't want to do. So they they have to start from zero when they arrive in a country. So they don't have very much to start with. So they generally live in the more deprived areas. So the rich don't interact very much with immigrants unless it's like paying for a food delivery or something like that. So the rich don't really care about immigrants. They care about taxes. They care about paying taxes. They don't like paying taxes, and they certainly don't like seeing their taxes go to fund support for ordinary people. Now, not all rich people, not all millionaires are like that. There's the patriotic millionaires who want to change the system, but generally millionaires and billionaires in particular don't like paying taxes. They see, and I've mentioned this before, they're happy to see, and maybe I don't want to engage in conspiracy theories. I have this hat on. I don't want to put on a tinfoil one, but they're happy to see TV shows like GB News or Talk TV constantly attack who? Not the rich. They constantly attack people on benefits, constantly attack immigrants, people who have no power, people who have no way to push back, and talk about how, inheritance tax is stealing from working class people, or middle class people. Middle class and working class people don't pay inheritance tax. Okay, I think it's above £10 million. So if you have an estate above £10 million, then you start paying inheritance tax. So it's very strange when you hear somebody on Talk TV who's complaining about inheritance tax or how this is the government coming and taking money from ordinary people. No, it's not ordinary people. And remember, inheritance tax does not apply to a family home. So if somebody's living in the home, then inheritance tax doesn't apply to that. So normal people don't have multiple properties. Okay. So the people who would end up paying inheritance tax are generally people who have multiple properties, and they're not normally ordinary people. Land grabbers, no, it's 500,000 if you're single. Okay, 500,000. So how many people are living in a £500,000 property that's not theirs? Once again, if you're inheriting something from your parents, if you're inheriting a £500,000 home from your parents, that's exempt. You're exempt from inheritance tax. It's only for assets that are not family homes. So if your parents have two properties, the one that you're living in and another one, and that's worth over £500,000, then you pay inheritance tax on the amount over a certain threshold. So you don't pay inheritance tax on the whole percentage. Peers in the House of Lords ought to actually provide responses to the public when they contact them. My experience is that their response record is much worse than MPs. Yes, because they're unelected. There's no motivation, there's no obligation on them to respond. They should respond, but they don't. Thanks, Ivan. But you're completely correct. Now, there are some decent people in the House of Lords, but I think the whole thing is rotten and the whole thing needs to go. An unelected chamber is... I'm of the idea there should be maybe an elected chamber. If you're not going to have an elected chamber, then have a single chamber. Although we have seen how the House of Lords has thwarted the Tories in the past, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes. But I think the idea of you can have an unelected chamber but have it much smaller. There are a lot of people there who have no reason to be there. The members of the clergy, is it necessary to have members of the clergy? You could have appointed chambers, so people who are sent by politicians. There are different ways it could be worked. Or you could just get rid of the second chamber altogether. Big up the Charlie Cat. We're still yet to see most of the Labour legislative agenda complete their passage through Parliament. I think there are good changes coming. We're still in the beginning of the Parliament. Yes, and that's a very valid point. One angry pagan. Like, the new Labour government have been in power for just over a year. You know, they were elected last July and we're now in August, so it's just over a year. So there's still a long time left in this Parliament. But it's off to a pretty rocky start, and the problem with such a rocky start is if there is a rebellion growing within the Parliament, within the parliamentary party, then it's going to be very difficult to get things through Parliament. It's not just a case of, well, it's early and we need to give it time. If the backbenchers feel that the government are not going in the right direction, they may attempt to steer the government in the right direction. And that, of course, will cause problems. So instead of talking about the cost of living crisis, politicians want to talk about the small boats. And unfortunately, we have to look at this as well because it's... Is it working? Yes, it's working. So unfortunately, even Sky News is getting in on the act. Have a listen to this. It's a bit slow today.
These latest numbers are even bigger than had been expected. 474 yesterday on 8 boats. Now that is bigger than was expected last night. Sky News filming yesterday suggested, yes, the number was over 400, 420 perhaps, possibly even as high as 430. 474, that's the highest figure this August. Takes the total to 50,271. Saturday, according to the Home Office, it was 437 on 7 boats. Sunday, 281 on 5 boats. And now we have this new figure, 474, biggest this month, 8 boats. Now that means that it has taken just 401 days of the Labour government to reach that 50,000 figure. Under Rishi Sunak's premiership, it took 603 days, and going back to Boris Johnson a few years earlier, over 1,000 days, 1,000.
Okay, so look, for most people, this is not really an issue, but for, of course, people on the right, this is, oh my goodness, Keir Starmer has failed. You know, what about the small boats? Why hasn't he stopped the small boats? Things are out of control. For some reason, okay, it's not working. Now it's working. Sorry about that. It's out of control. We need to do something about the small boats. What about the small boats? What about the so-called illegal migrants? We know the solution. We've talked about it about 100 times. The solution, of course, is to create a safe route. And the safe route would eliminate pretty much these boat crossings. So then what would Nigel Farage and what's his name, Rupert Lowe do then? They'd have to throw away their binoculars. There'd be no point going down to the sea to look for boats because there would be no boats. Now, would this satisfy the far right? No, it wouldn't. But it would take this issue off the table. This is an issue that is driving people into the arms of reform. Because once again, like when the Conservatives were in charge, the Conservatives were saying, we will bring down immigration numbers. Immigration numbers went up. So they got punished. People said, hey, you lied to us. You told us numbers would go down. We don't trust you anymore. We're going to vote for somebody else. So as we know, the last election, people went in two directions. They went towards reform and they went to the Labour Party. The Labour Party benefited because people were sick of the Tories. But on the issue of immigration, they voted for reform because they didn't trust the Tories anymore. So There's a bit of a glitch in my software for some reason. So the same thing is going to happen again. People on the right who are not happy with Labour are going to vote for Reform UK. Because all Farage has to do is say, well, I will do it better. Jack, thank you so much, Jack, for your super chat. Something about the migrant versus rich issue we can't deny is how visible one issue is, especially since after the Boris wave, this needs to be fixed. I agree with you 100% agreement. This is the thing, what I'm talking about as well. If the small boats are, once again, thanks for that. If the small boats are something visual and you take that away, then people are going to stop talking about small boats. Now, there may be some small boats continuing to cross, but the number would be much lower. So if you take this off the table by creating a safe route, then this will be a win for the Labour Party. And I honestly don't know why they're not going down this route. Some people say, well, it would make them look weak. But how would you look weak if you're delivering something? Because the Conservatives said, we're going to stop the boats. Reform keeps saying, we're going to stop the boats. We're going to block the channel. We're going to send in the Navy. We're going to do all these things. If Labour actually stopped the boats by creating a safe route, then they would just have to say, we stop the boats. You know, the public are not interested in how. They're not interested in the detail. They're interested in the result. And the result will be we stop the boats. In the same way as if you say, look, we're going to bring down the NHS waiting list, it doesn't really matter. Of course, Labour are going to engage, you know, West Reading is supportive of using the private sector. People are okay with the private sector. I'm not saying that they should be. I'm just saying politically, people will say, well, whatever it takes to bring down the NHS waiting list, do that. And the same should be with the small boats. There's no point talking about smashing the gangs and ending the boat crossings in this way if it doesn't work. What you're doing is you're building up an expectation that you're going to stop the boats. And then when you don't stop them, then what's going to happen? People are not going to trust you and they're going to vote for Reform because Reform will say, well, we will actually stop them. Give us a chance. Give us the benefit of the doubt. Nigel has been banging on about stopping boats for years, so he will actually do it. But this point about the rich versus stopping the boats, yeah, there's very little talk about taxing the rich. Gary Stevenson has been banging on about it for so long. But there's very little focus on that. Now, I think the approach has to be clever because there is this narrative that's pushed out often. Envy? Was it envy of the rich or something like that? So people, it's the politics of envy. Sorry, I forgot. Politics of envy. So where you, well, you know, if you're wealthy and you're wanting to tax people, then you're a hypocrite. And if you're poor and you want to tax people, then you're just, you're envious of the rich and you're trying to pull them down. So I think there needs to be a good approach to taxing the rich. I'm of the idea that you need to sell the idea to the public that, look, these people are rich because they had a fully funded educational system, public service behind them, either directly or indirectly. Like directly, these people benefited from having the NHS free at the point of use. These people benefited from public education and private education, which also receives public money. They benefited from low crime. They benefited from a whole range of things. And because many of these people run companies, their staff have benefited from these things as well. So if you didn't have public services properly funded, these people wouldn't be as rich as they are. So they actually owe something back to the taxpayer. They owe something back to society because they have benefited both directly and indirectly from a properly funded public service. That needs to be something sold. Now, I'm not very good at selling these messages, but surely someone in number 10 can put this into a nice, 3-word phrase or something like that. Just tax the rich doesn't really work, but something. I'm not saying you shouldn't tax the rich. I'm fully supportive of a wealth tax and a land tax, but it needs to be sold in the right way. But more focus needs to be on wealth. I'm not sure, showing pictures of people with Ferraris and stuff like that is going to work because the right will, the people who are supporting the rich will say, well, these people got it through hard graft. These people, worked hard and, put in the extra hours and took the risk, and this is their reward. So I wouldn't go with imagery of, people with Ferraris or villas and stuff like that. But there needs to be another approach. And it could be through the public services. Look at how these people have benefited greatly from functioning public services, and they owe it to the public to pay something back. We have a super chat from Ivan. Thank you so much, Ivan. Back on the House of Lords, it shouldn't have more members than the House of Commons. And when are Labour going to top up with its numbers in the Lords? Currently, the Tories are still have the most. Yeah, this is absolutely insane. Like, you just send a bunch of people over to the House of Lords. It's like, okay, let's send another 50 people over. And I hate this thing of, the honours list. When a Prime Minister has finished, they have this privilege of sending people to the House of Lords. Not because they have any merit, not because they have done something good for society. No, it's people like, Andrea Jenkins. What the fuck has Andrea Jenkins ever done for anyone? Sorry for my French, but Jesus Christ. Andrea frigging Jenkins. Dame Andrea Jenkins, I should say. Wasn't she? No, I don't know if she's a member of the House of Lords. Oh, no, Therese Coffey, a member of the House of Lords. Baroness Coffey, isn't that her name now? Like, what the fuck has she ever done? Like, she's done the opposite for people. You remember that video where she was asked by Kay Burley of Sky News, what about the people somebody who died because they weren't able to access the support they needed on universal credit, I think it was. And her reaction was like, yeah, well, you just need to access these different... No, but the person died. What's your reaction to somebody who died because they weren't able to access... Oh, complete indifference. Complete and utter indifference. Why the heck is she in the House of frigging Lords? More like barrel-shaped coffee. Ian Big Bottom. What has he done? He helped Brexit over the line, I think. So that's why he got there. That's why he was sent. A lot of people were sent. Daniel frigging Hannan sent to the House of Lords because of Brexit, because he supported Brexit. Literally, because he supported Brexit. Completely wrong on Brexit. Hasn't apologised. Said that the UK... There's no one's talking about leaving the single market. And the UK left the single market. Well, Britain left the single market. So maybe there's a technicality there. He wasn't completely wrong, but he said nobody's talking about us. So I presume he meant us as in GB. I don't know if he knew the detail of Northern Ireland, but he was still selling the idea that we're voting to leave the European Union does not mean leaving the single market. Obviously, he didn't know, or he was pretending not to. Either way, he has not come out and apologized for his mistake, or tried to clarify. No, he was just sent to the House of Lords to ramble on about how great Brexit is, actually. Baroness Owen was appointed to the services of coming out of Jonathan. Allegedly, Brad, allegedly. It's like Prince Harry. Is Prince Harry Charles's real son? Is Baroness Owen really Boris Johnson's daughter? We'll have to wait and see. There's a significant resemblance there for sure. Yes. What has she done for society? What has she done to merit being sent to the House of Lords? Sweet FA. Well done, Brad. Boris Johnson could have refilled the House of Lords with all of his children. I imagine his other children going, hey, what the heck? I've done nothing either, and how come I haven't been sent to the frigging House of Lords? Unless Boris Johnson has rewarded them in other ways. I don't know. Maybe they receive PPE contracts or something like that. Let me see. We have this PPE contract that was handed out to a guy called Boris Johnson Jr. Is he any relation to you, Prime Minister? No. Nothing to do with me. Never seen before, never seen again. Yes, she hasn't. Was there a period of time when nobody knew what she actually sounded like? You could see pictures of her in the House of Lords. You saw these swearing in, but nobody actually knew what she sounded like. Like, does she have a voice? Lord Coffee sits next to Lord Voldemort. Yes, so thanks, Peter. It's true. Oh my goodness. So sticking with this story, unfortunately, I have to stick with the story a little bit longer, and then we'll I guarantee you we'll take a break. So we can see there about the small boat crossings. Actually, let me just, I think there was another one I wanted to show you. Where is it? So Baroness Jacob-Smith, the Minister for Skills, is now joining Sky News Breakfast. They discussed the issue around the small boats as the Prime Minister looks set to confirm an unwanted 50,000 arrival milestone later today. So this is this morning. She acknowledged that the Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has a tough job because the last government enabled the hideous criminal activity. Smith claims that Labour action will make a difference, pointing to consistent resource action that the government is taking. But when will it have an impact? I think we're already seeing a difference in terms of, for example, the doubling of speed of the asylum claims are made. But Smith acknowledges the high number of arrivals are enormously serious problem. So what they can do is they can process more claims, but there's nothing really they can do about stopping the boats, apart from creating a safe route. So one thing is, okay, but it needs to be a two-tiered approach. One is they need to, a two-pronged approach, I should say. One is processing the claims, so you can move people out of refugee status and into normal living eventually. So move them into refugee status and then they can become parts of society. Or if people have no right to remain, then they should be removed. They should be deported. And that's the way to do it. But that's only dealing with the people in the hotels or in the emergency accommodation. But to stop the boats, you need to create safe routes. Why hasn't Nigel stopped any boats? When is he on his boat? Well, Nigel would say, I'm not in charge. If I was in charge, then I'd stop the boats. I can guarantee you, if Nigel Farage becomes Prime Minister, they won't talk about boats anymore. I guarantee you. Nobody will be talking about boats. Or if they are, it will be, well, it's not our fault. It's the Home Office fault. It's the blob's fault. So I can guarantee they'll be either instructing the media to stop talking about, because why is this an issue? Because the media is talking about it. In the same way as the media is not talking about the cost of living crisis. Why is the media not talking about the cost of living crisis? Because it's disappeared? No. It's actually worse than before because inflation is still rising. There is still inflation, so prices, I should say, are still rising. Even if inflation comes down, prices are still rising. So life is getting more and more difficult. Why is the media not talking about this? Why are they instead talking about small boats? So is it the government wants them to talk about small boats? Probably not. But somebody has decided, let's focus on small boats. Let's not focus on the cost of living crisis. But if Farage gets in, well, he'll be able to probably instruct the media, because the media is friendly to Farage, so stop talking about small boats. And then there'll be stories about, wokeness or something like that. And how Farage is defeating wokeness. Like Trump. You don't see many stories about Epstein anymore, do you? Because Trump is talking about going to Russia, when in reality he's going to Canada, or he's going to Alaska, I should say. Maybe he's already handed over Alaska. He's talking about other things, talking about, deploying the military in Washington, D.C. Don't talk about Epstein. Okay. The media is on board with us not talking about Epstein anymore. That's the reality of the situation. So if Farage, hopefully he doesn't, but if Farage gets in, they'll stop talking about small boats. And the far right, who are obviously, constantly concerned about small boats, will start talking about something else. That's how it works. Unless it's Tommy Robinson, but Tommy Robinson, I don't think will have much influence then. Jack, thank you so much for that super chat. Tax the rich isn't enough for you to sell a clear, hopeful future like the right does with no migrants, tied to lower crime and safer society. Well said. Somebody needs to come up with a good message when it comes to, because yes, once again, tax the rich is not, okay, what does that mean for me? Taxing the rich. So there needs to be some approach to convincing people that give something back, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a political analyst or strategist. Brad, once again, thank you so much, Brad. Farage as Prime Minister will demand that we all pledge allegiance to a portrait of him. Oh God, I'm a bit nervous of what comes next. Darren Grimes will step further. will go a step further and spray yogurt on one. Oh. Yeah, he'll have his own private one. And on that, let's take a short comedy moment. And I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be back in just a jiffy with more serious stuff. Unless Brad sends us down another rabbit hole.
Okay, inventions for drinks. What have we got?
I've got a new one. It's made from beans.
Oh, made from beans. Yeah, that sounds really refreshing. Is it nice?
Not really, no. Well, it is if you add loads of sugar to it. As are most things if you add loads of sugar to them.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Does it make you feel good when you drink it, though? That's the main thing.
No, it gives you a headache.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Just what people want from a drink.
And if you drink too much of it, you shit yourself.
Okay, yeah. Everyone loves having headaches and shitting themselves. Have we got a name?
How about diarrhea juice?
Yeah, I think that's a bit on the nose.
Laxative liquid?
No.
Poo potion?
Okay, stop it. Wait, say that again? Brilliant name. Get that on the shelves. Any other ideas?
Yes, got this thing called alcohol.
Does it make you feel bad and shit yourself?
And vomit.
You are good.
Oh my goodness. So let me move this a little bit closer. You can see the impact of Reform UK, the rhetoric of Reform UK and GB News and others is filtering down in a way that you could hardly ever imagine. So villagers verbally abuse scouts they mistook for migrants. So Newbridge residents confused 300 Scottish teenagers on a summer trip for asylum seekers. First of all, Scouts, and second, Scottish. It reminds me of, I think, was it Richard Tice? No, it wasn't Richard Tice. It was Rupert. No, maybe it was Jacob Rees-Mogg who was complaining about foreign languages in the House of Commons. Do you remember that video? I'd done it some time ago, where he said there shouldn't be foreign languages, and he was referring to Welsh, Gaelic, Scots Gaelic, and Irish Gaelic. This is from the same guy who speaks Latin, or used to speak Latin in the House of Commons, but he was describing Welsh, Gaelic, Irish Gaelic, and Welsh Gaelic as foreign languages. But, verbally abusing scouts, maybe some of them were speaking Gaelic, I don't know, maybe just the accent, they couldn't understand the accent. I don't know, this is just, you can sort of laugh at this story, although you shouldn't be laughing at teenagers being verbally abused. But this is how far things have fallen. You have people constantly being the anti-immigration rhetoric weaponized to a level where British people, I know the Scots don't like to be called British, but British people are being insulted by other British people in their own country. I think there was a similar story some years ago where, so in Ireland, for people who don't know, there are different parts of Ireland called the Gaeltacht. And in the Gaeltacht, the primary language is Irish, Gaelic. And, people speak it as the first language and they speak English as the second language. But there was a story some years ago where some teenagers were speaking Gaelic, Irish, on a train. and they were insulted by some fellow Irish people who thought they were foreigners. Pretty terrible. Okay, moving on. Just wanted to hit that story because I thought it'd be not interesting, but just sad. Kemi Badenoch suggests asylum seekers should be housed in Nightingale camps. So Kemi Badenoch has reached the level where she believes that asylum seekers should be concentrated in camps. You know, I honestly don't understand this. I honestly don't understand why the Conservatives think, let's double down on immigration because it worked so well for us before. If we appear as tough as Nigel Farage, people will not vote for Nigel Farage, they'll vote for us. So the Conservative leader said, proper camps need to be put up where migrants are kept safe, keeping them out of hotels.
We need to process people in detention centres. We need to build proper camps where we keep people safe, whether they are migrants or the local communities. But just having people who can stay in a hotel, go out and come as they please, whether or not they're criminals, we have no idea.
Okay, so you want to basically put people in a prison. Like, what crime have they committed? Well, they haven't committed a crime, but we're going to put them in prison. Okay, well, why would you put people in a prison if they didn't commit a crime? Oh, for public safety. Safety from whom? Well, to keep the public safe from them, but they haven't committed a crime. But some of them might commit a crime. Some of them may have committed crimes before, but we generally don't view people in this way. We don't say, let's put everyone in prison because somebody might commit a crime. These are asylum seekers. They have not committed any crimes. If they have committed a crime, then you punish them by putting them in prison. But we're talking about people who have not committed a crime, or we don't know if they've committed a crime. We can't investigate whether they've committed a crime because they're in a frigging camp. You know, what is the end goal of this? Does Kemi Badenoch understand that the more she pushes this, the far right will push further to the right? And you could end up with a situation where there are people in power who will be calling for Kemi Badenoch to be put in a camp, to be calling for Kemi Badenoch to be deported. This is the end game here. Does she not understand this? Like, what's really concerning is there are people in the Conservative Party and to a certain extent in Reform UK, people from ethnic minority backgrounds who don't seem to understand that the end game of the far right is to deport even you. They may tolerate you for now, but the end game for them is to have one ethnic group in Britain. And we know which ethnic group they're talking about. Now on ITVX, starring Darren Grimes, a young man gets confused by buying stamps for his local office. That's Master Bates in the post office. Oh my goodness, thanks so much, Brad. Oh, sorry, Freckle Bunny. Sorry, I got a bit distracted there. Oh my goodness. She does understand this, but simply doesn't care, I imagine.
Who these people are, I don't think that that's right, and it's gone on long enough.
These camps, are they tents? Are they for buildings? What are these camps?
Well, I remember during COVID when we were able to build Nightingale hospitals.
Nightingale hospitals. Does she not understand the difference between a Nightingale hospital and a prison camp? We were able to build Nightingale hospitals. Well, there was also a problem with the Nightingale hospitals. There wasn't the staff to run them. They were a bit pointless. But apart from that, you're comparing putting someone in hospital to putting someone in a camp where they're not allowed to leave.
Very quickly. There are examples of how we've done this before. So that's not where
What do you mean, we've done this before? Is she talking about, I don't know, in South Africa? It's like during, I don't know, what was it, the beginning of the 20th century? the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, where, you know, we did this before, putting people in camps for their own safety? How did that work out?
I'm an expert at. What we need is the government to actually get the people who are experts to figure out.
Sorry. I'm sorry, but it's like, Jesus Christ. We need to get the experts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk tripe for the first 30 seconds. And then what I'm going to say is we need the experts. So actually, before speaking to experts, I'm going to run my mouth. And then I'm going to say, well, we need to listen to the experts. Like, can you imagine her in any other situation? Okay, what I need to do is I need to buy a car. Do you need a car? I don't know. I'm going to speak to some experts to find out whether I need a car. Have you bought the car? Yeah, I bought the car, but now I'm going to see if I'm actually going to need to use the car. She's hopeless. Hopeless, completely hopeless. We need to ask experts if we need camps. I'm going to say we need camps, but then we're going to check if we actually need them.
What the solution can look like. It can be done. There's no point just making excuses. And what worries me most is that the government will say they're taking people out of hotels and just put them into into private accommodation, which will be even harder.
But you keep complaining about the hotels. Like, remember, when the Conservatives were in charge, 400 hotels were in use. Now it's about half that. But the Conservatives are still complaining. Oh, there are too many hotels. Why are you putting people in hotels like we did before? Oh, no, I shouldn't say that part. And of course, the media are not pushing back, going, wait a minute, when you were in charge, did you put people in hotels? Yeah, yes. But don't talk about that. How many hotels? I don't remember. It was 400. Oh, okay, right. And how many is it now? I don't know. Probably more than... No, it's 200. Okay. These are the type of questions. This is the way you deal with people like Kemi Badenoch. You call this crap out. Why? Honestly, guys, like, sorry, just... Whoops. What is wrong with the media? Why is it I'm able to do these things? How is it I'm... Like, if I was interviewing Kemi Badenoch, I was like, wait a minute, Kemi. Well, just back up for a second. When you were in charge, how many hotels were in use? Do you know? If you don't know, we have the numbers. Okay? And if I explain to her, okay, there were 400, now it's 200. So is that progress? No, that's not really progress because they shouldn't have them in the hotels in the first place. Okay, but why didn't you have zero hotel use? Oh, because there was COVID and... But what has COVID got to do with putting people in hotels? Nothing. Like, how is it... like, simple responses and she would fall apart. But the journalists just let her run her mouth and then at the end they'll ask, okay, let's move on to the next question. Honestly, like, we need to put people in camps. Like, we know that what happened with camps. Camps are not... Well, like, they need to be put in camps for public safety.
Harder for us to track what's going on. And that's what really worries me now. Labour should not be doing that. They need to build proper places where we can put people coming to our country illegally.
Where? That would be my next question. Are they going to be put in your constituency? No, not in my constituency. I think it was Rupert Lowe or somebody from Reform was talking about sending them to Scotland. Bit like, for people who don't know, Cromwell once said, to hell and to Connacht, or to hell or to Connacht. I must remember it better. Generally, to go to hell and to Connacht, or to Connacht. You know, just go to hell. Like, send them to a place where they'll never be thought about again. And I think it was a Tory MP or Reform person who said, yeah, send them to Scotland. So where are these camps going to be built, Kemi? Are they going to be in your constituency? No, they're not. Like, camps.
But the thing that will fix this problem, what will stop the boats, is a deterrent, which means they don't come here in the...
So the deterrent is that they don't come in the first place. Well, what is the deterrent? Oh, the Rwanda scheme. Yes, remember the Rwanda scheme, which was a wonderful success. How many people did you send? Well, we sent 3. How many migrants? 3 foreign secretaries? No, 3 home secretaries. It's pathetic. Guys, we're almost at the end, so I want to cover 2 short videos here. This is crazy stuff, just absolutely crazy. So We keep hearing about these protests taking place outside hotels. We hear about, how the people protesting outside the hotels are reasonable individuals. Talk TV, GB News say, look, these are ordinary people who are just concerned about immigration, concerned about their community. They're not crazy individuals. They're not, the far right. Stop calling these people far right, because they're just concerned citizens, concerned parents in many cases. And, well, Politics Joe went and met some of these people, and, well, have a listen and decide for yourself.
Do you think Starmer's one in, one out policy with France will help shift the mood of the public?
I don't think... Fucking bomb them!
I mean, that man there is shouting fucking bomb them at the hotel.
Yeah, fucking bomb them. That's what the guy is saying at the hotel. Now, we keep hearing how he's just an ordinary person expressing himself. Fucking bomb them. Does that sound like incitement to you? Sounds like incitement to me. But we're not supposed to, you're not supposed to arrest people for incitement anymore, because that's in breach of their free speech or something like that.
Al, what do you think?
Man there looks mentally ill.
Okay, so it's because he's mentally ill. So this commentator here you see on the left is a right-wing commentator. He's this guy is just mentally ill. He's not representative. He's not a representative of the people protesting outside the hotel. So it's just one guy who's a bit not well in the head. Okay, just one guy.
What do you think?
Man there looks mentally ill.
You understand that we respect over this country?
Okay, are these people mentally ill as well? And what is it with masks? Nigel Farage and others were saying, hey, these people shouldn't be wearing masks. I presume these are the Antifa, the anti-racist, anti-fascist people who are wearing the masks, right? Communist scum off our streets. Okay. Is that directed at the hotel, or is it directed at the counter-protest?
We're calm, we're peaceful, and we just want what's best for the English British public and domestically in-house, and this is what we want. We want the equilibrium. We want it.
Sorry, what does that even mean? We want equilibrium.
Equalised. That's what we want.
I heard some chants over there calling the people inside the Asylum Hotel pedophiles. Do you believe that?
The majority, because...
Okay. So she has determined that the majority of people in the Asylum Hotel are pedophiles. Okay.
When they came here, pedophiles, I would say they're sexual predators. Not pedophiles, they're sexual predators. And that's a different term.
Okay, she has determined. So she has determined that they're not pedophiles but sexual predators on the basis of what? It's not like saying, look, I've heard that they're all like this, or I believe that they're all like this. She has made a determination, no, they're not pedophiles, they're sexual predators. There's a difference there. We need to clarify. Okay, based on what? Well, based on, what I read on Facebook.
Terminology entirely.
Oh my goodness. But remember, you're not supposed to call these people racist. You're not supposed to call these people fascist. You're not supposed to insult them in any way. Oh my goodness. Here's another bunch.
A lot of people, can I just say that I know, vote Labour because their parents voted Labour. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I'm not really a political person, I'm not into politics, but at the end of the day, we need a politician or someone like Trump who's going to stand up and go out.
Well, they say
you're illegal out. We want Trump. We want Trump.
They say now.
They want Trump. So you're at a protest against alleged sex offenders, like the woman before. These people are not pedophiles; they're sex offenders. They're engaged in sex offences, and now you're celebrating somebody like Donald Trump, someone like Trump. You want a sex offender in charge?
Now that Labour have lost the working class vote,
they have.
I think UKIP are probably the new party to take.
Oh God! Yeah, UKIP represent the working class. In what way does UKIP represent the working class?
Come on, really? Nick Tinconi, mass deportation.
I don't want to put my views on anything because, like, it's different. I'm not what my views don't stand for.
Of
the
course.
community do. But for my vote, we'll go and UKIP.
Yeah, good stuff. Well done.
Nick's the only one who
he accepts it. Do you know what I mean?
Nick, so the leader of UKIP who was doing Nazi salutes the other day. Wonderful, wonderful people, aren't they? Wonderful. Now, this is one form of protest. Of course, there was another form of protest on Saturday where people were arrested. Yvette Cooper defends action of more than 500 people. Arrest of more than 500 people at Palestine Action protests. Somebody made a joke. They should Palestine Action should rename themselves Yvette Cooper. It's like, we've deemed Yvette Cooper a prescribed organisation.
Prescription is not about protest around Palestine or Gaza, where we had, I think, tens of thousands of people protesting lawfully just this weekend about some of the horrendous events that we've seen in the Middle East. Instead, prescription is about one narrow group that has been involved in violent attacks, including injuries, including weapons, smoke bombs causing panic among innocent people, major criminal damage against national institutions.
Sorry, is she talking about the suffragettes here, or is she talking about Palestine Action?
Security infrastructure, and where there's been clear security assessments and advice. There may be people who are objecting to prescription who don't know the full nature of this, or people who
see this. Sorry, I'm trying to pause it, but we can't pause it without the screen going. I don't know if you can see it. There's a man in a wheelchair, a disabled man. I think he's blind also. He was arrested because he's a risk to public safety.
There may be people who are objecting to prescription who don't know the full nature of this organisation because of court restrictions on reporting.
So what Yvette Cooper is doing is she's hiding behind this idea. Well, no, we can't tell you why they're a very dangerous organisation because there's a court case ongoing. Okay, but she could describe what they're doing. She doesn't have to say this individual did this action and this is why we can't talk about it. But she could talk about it in a more general sense. For example, she could say, well, this organization has carried out attacks like, for example. But she hasn't. She's hiding behind this. Now, there's pressure on her to come out and actually explain why she has prescribed this organization. What evidence do you have? She keeps saying, no, we can't tell you why because there's ongoing cases. Okay, but you don't have to. You can talk in a high level, in a general sense, without actually going into specifics. But she's refusing to do that. Why is she refusing to do that? And I don't buy this shit. I'm sorry. I've covered it already on the channel. I don't buy this shit that, well, you need to prescribe this organization because they've engaged in violence or they've threatened people. The UVF. I talked about the UVF in another video. The UVF is still active today. It started in 1966. It carried out bombings. It killed individuals. It killed people. It attacked the security services. It had a reign of terror since the 1960s, and it's still active today. And people march in the Orange Order and celebrate the UVF. They have banners. They have flags celebrating the UVF. These people march on the 12th of July and in the marching season, and none of these people have been arrested. And they're glorifying a prescribed organization called the UVF, the Ulster Volunteer Force, who've actually killed people, literally killed people through bombings, shootings. And they're still intimidating people today because, as I said in other videos, there are loyalist paramilitaries, either the UVF or others that are prescribed, which are intimidating asylum seekers to a situation where they have to go to the police and ask, what should I do when I want to move into this community? And the police are telling them, you have to negotiate with the terrorists. Can you imagine if the Metropolitan Police told people you need to negotiate with Palestine Action in order to move into the area? What do you think the response from the far right would be? What do you think the response from GB News and Talk TV would be? What do you think the Tory response to that would be? They would be losing their minds, and rightly so. But when it comes to the UVF, for example, it's apples and oranges. Sorry. Brad says, I didn't realize it was possible to mate with toads. I presume that's in reference to the previous video. England, your right to peaceful protest is now gone. You're sleepwalking into what will be known as worse, in my opinion, which will get much worse, in my opinion. Like once again, if Yvette Cooper has evidence that Palestine Action should be a prescribed organization, then she needs to present it. She can't just say it exists. She actually has to present the evidence. And I think we're going to see, probably not today, not tomorrow, but sometime in the future, there will be a U-turn. I think there will eventually be a U-turn on this. Tell the UVS supporters the Orange Walk is gay. Yes. Allegedly, King William was a fan of the boys. he liked to hang out with boys more than the Orange Order likes to hang out with other boys. Thanks, Brad. And thanks, Viper, for that. It is the right to protest is slipping away, because all they have to do is say, well, you're in support, you're marching in support of a prescribed organization, now you're going to jail. People have been arrested. 500 people have been arrested. Are they going to jail? I hope not. They may be let off with a caution or anything, but that's going to have a chilling effect on people. You know, that will affect your life. You may end up losing your job over these things. So guys, we're almost at the end of the stream. So I want to say thank you so much to everyone come on. But I want to tell you also something else. We've restarted the post-stream chat. So I will be jumping on the post-stream chat after this live stream on Discord. So if you're a member of the channel, or you're a member of Patreon, you should be on Discord as well. Jump onto the Discord server, and we're going to have a chat about what we talked about tonight. I'll be on for about an hour, so we can you can ask me questions. We can talk about what's happening. But before we go, we have our one for the road. I hope you enjoy this, and then I'll see you on Discord. This is enjoyable. I hope you like it.
Good morning, Met Police. How can I help?
He's bloody walking the streets, he is.
Who is, madam?
That bloody paedophile. The people trafficking nonce, walking the bloody streets like nothing's happened.
Well, this sounds very serious. Who is this toe rag?
Toe rag? He's a member of the bloody British Royal Family.
Another time waster, was it, Brian? What? Oh yeah, the usual scum.
Hello, Met Police. PC Collins speaking.
Hello, yes, I'd like to report a theft.
Gotcha. Is that goods or money, sir?
Money. Oh, it's rather a lot.
Oh, don't worry, sir. I'm sure we'll get it back for you.
Well, it's £38 billion.
Right, and who do you say is responsible?
It's Dido Harding and the former Prime Minister Boris...
Enough of these time wasters, Brian.
Tell me about it. Oh. Hello, Met Police. PC Brian speaking. How can I help? Right. Right, sir. Right, sir. Hold on for 2 minutes, would you, sir?
What is it, Brian?
Well, this bloke's asking why we'd use the death of the Queen as an excuse to bring in totalitarian policing methods, destroy the central philosophy of policing by consent, and arrest protesters on the street like we're in Putin's Russia. Or something.
Well, can you think of a better excuse to bring in totalitarian policing methods, destroy the central philosophy of policing by consent, and arrest protesters on the street like we're in Putin's Russia? Or something?
I'll ask him. Hello, sir. Can you think of a better excuse to bring in totalitarian policing methods, destroy the central philosophy of policing by consent, and arrest protesters on the street like we're in Putin's Russia? Or something? Nah, thought not. Alright, ta-ra.
Busy.
Good morning, Met Police.
There's a man with a blank piece of A4 near the Churchill statue. I think he might have a Sharpie.
Jesus Christ. Charlie Uniform November Tango. All units, we need an armed response.
Hey, what is it, Brian?
We have a radical terrorist placard flasher on Parliament Square.
Wonderful, wonderful. So guys, have a great week. I'll see you on Friday, same bad time, same bad channel. I might have a special guest. We're trying to get it sorted out, but if I do, I'll keep you informed on that. And if I don't see you then, I'll see you on the post-stream chat in about 5 minutes. So have a great week. I'll see you soon. Take care and good night.